Our relationship with the ocean is a complicated one. Our histories and our futures are intricately tied to watery realms that surround us. We rely on it as a resource for food, transportation, and leisurely activities. But the negative impacts of our reliance are becoming abundantly clear each day. We are hearing about deceased whales, fish, and seabirds with stomachs full of plastics, entire ecosystems collapsing from coral bleaching events, and fish populations in rapid decline due to overfishing. Hearing about our polluted oceans isn't enough to understand the strain we are placing on the natural world. We need to see the strain and confront the current situation that we are in. And as an artist, that is exactly what I dedicate my studio practice to. My name is Elizabeth Ellenwood. I am a photographer, Fulbright Scholar, and ocean farmhand currently living in Connecticut in the United States. My quest to understand and create artwork highlighting plastic pollution led me to a collaboration project with a group of scientists in Norway last year. The project had many creative homes, either physical places or methodologies that inspired the work. These environments were full of individuals asking questions, brainstorming ideas, and sharing resources towards understanding human impacts on the natural world. The first creative home of the project was at the Environmental Lab at the Norwegian Geotechnical Institute. In the research lab, we looked at and studied plastics. We used separation methods to isolate the pollution from the organic materials, and we researched the chemical makeup of the synthetic materials themselves. The next creative home was the Oslo Fjord itself. Here I participated in the Fjord Cleanup Group, an international community-run team that fished trash out of the fjord. This weekly activity was a direct line of inspiration to the project. It showed me just how polluted the waterways truly are. It gave me materials to study and create with, but it also showed me the importance of people. Again, we have a complicated relationship to the ocean. People are responsible for the pollution, but we, also the people, are responsible to help and fix the problems. Another creative home was the landscape. Daily walks and fieldwork studies revealed the abundance of synthetic materials creeping into natural scenes. Documenting these scenes as they were provided evidence of just how normalized pollution has become. My photographs point to areas of concern. In this case, a blue rope emerging as if a flower blooming from the earth. The final creative home was in the pollution itself. Objects pulled from the water, plucked from the shore, and separated from sediments all have stories to tell. We can learn about their histories, possibly where they come from, and how long they've been in the environment for. Most importantly, these objects show us our consumer-driven patterns and where we can make adjustments in our everyday materials. All of the creative homes and collaborations funneled into the making of the interweaving of the synthetic and the natural world. Co-created with environmental chemist Hans-Peter Arp, the book highlights our research and showcases a multidisciplinary approach to understanding pollution. Inspired by field notebooks, the pages honestly depict plastic pollution currently found in natural environments. Not quite a scientific lab book and not quite a fine art book, our collaboration lives in the very important in-between zone. Our intentions are to share our studies in an approachable and interactive way. We explore the complexity of plastic pollution through scientific writings and photographs. The writings are segmented and designed to be a slow read, allowing the reader to focus on individual words or phrases. A page spread from the book reads, "As the synthetic litter accumulates, the plastic, biology, soil, and molecules of the earth are interweaving to become something new, something unknown, something scientists are struggling to understand." My photographs play with scale. This page pairs a microscope study of plastics on the left and a landscape image of styrofoam on a rock on the right. What's fascinating is the more time I spent looking through microscopes in the lab and through my camera on shoreline walks, the scenes mimicked one another. This micro-macro confusion gives room to question what you're looking at and speaks to many levels of pollution issues. The levels of pollution are layered and complex. So let's start at the top. More often than not, our viewpoints of the water are at a surface level, causing a separation mindset. If we don't look hard or long enough, it is easy to have a disconnection of how our actions and consumer choices are impacting the natural world. My photographs invite you and urge you to look longer. The act of looking allows us to see in new ways. We now see the oil slicks on the water's surface and the floating juice box. Seeing allows us to draw relatability and understand elements of the scene. We can now question where the oil and juice box came from, how we as consumers use it, and hopefully how we can help these situations. Often the surface reveals contemporary and fresh debris. These items are new to the environment and have yet to weave their way into nature. Seeing a mask points us directly to the pandemic times, a visual cue that cannot be ignored and places us in a certain time period. At times, our surface level can allow us to see through the water, where we begin to notice what lies beneath. Nestled among rocks and stuck in mud, synthetic materials are hiding. The weight of these objects have brought them down to disrupt yet another layer of the natural world. Our consumerism haunts us from beneath the murky water, which makes us question, what else are we missing? What other pollution is hiding just out of reach? To answer these questions, we have to submerge our viewpoints into the next layer, the water itself. Sadly, the answers are not pretty ones, and they add to the complexity of ocean pollution. Synthetic fragments, fibers, and pieces, they're all suspended in the water column and impossible to fully separate. But we try. We try to remove what does not belong. However, that's not an easy answer either. Pulling the synthetic materials from the sea does allow us to see and study the sunken materials, but it also reveals yet another level of pollution that is complicated. The natural world is now growing on the synthetic materials. Studying the removed objects, we see just how intertwined and tangled our pollution has become. Hans Peter writes, "Plastic interweaves with the organic matter. The biology grows on the plastic and becomes one with the plastic, leading to a potential future where organic matter is forever changed by being this hybrid." And this description is seen perfectly in this water bottle that was collected from the ocean floor. Here we can see the algae and small organisms that have attached to the plastic itself. Scientists have coined the term plastosphere to describe this new organic synthetic hybrid world. Hans-Peter writes, researchers that look at plastospheres in the ocean have found that the species on the surface of marine plastics can be completely unique from their surrounding waters. Returning to the landscape, we are confronted with yet one more level of our complicated relationship to the ocean. Another surface to look down on, we are faced with the unfortunate aftermath of using the natural environment as a dumping ground. Hans-Peter writes, at the molecular level, the microplastics, nanoplastics, and large molecules interweave with natural organic matter. The two essentially coalesce and become one. And in the landscape, once you train your eye, you can find the smallest artificial materials. This perfect blue circle is primary plastic, also known as a plastic pellet or a nurdle. Something so small shouldn't be a big problem, right? But it totally is. This multi-level pollution shines light on the plastic manufacturing companies and the complications that arise. This tiny blue plastic particle is the building block for future plastic objects, which means immediately after it was created, it became pollution. It never ended up being shaped into its final form. I found over 1,000 nurdles on a beach in Oslo. These plastic pellets most likely arrived on shore from container spills while being transported to manufacturing houses. After drifting through currents, avoiding being eaten by fish and wildlife, they found a new home hiding in the sand. Seeing these plastic spheres, so abundant in the landscape, made me want to know more. Knowing more meant looking more. Through the microscope, we can see another problematic layer. Hans-Peter writes, plastic presents itself as an attractive surface for some kinds of molecules and organisms to establish a home. First, various molecules will sorb to the surface of plastic, which is often referred to as the ecocorona, as they can be like patches on the surface. These molecules are the food of bacteria, diatoms, algae, and plankton, which then grow as if on a petri dish, forming a slimy or encrusted biofilm. From an artistic standpoint, these tiny pollutants are quite lovely. But don't be fooled by the bright colors and alluring shapes. The ecocorona that Hans-Peter describes entices animals to eat the plastic pellets, a detrimental mistake. The nurdles are so small that they can be ingested by a range of wildlife, and they get stuck in a never-ending food chain, unable to be digested. Our final level of pollution to look at is microscopic. And if you don't have a microscope, the problem is literally out of sight, out of mind. My photographs reveal the same interweaving that is happening in the landscape and in the ocean is happening at a microscopic level as well. We can try our hardest to separate the artificial from the organic, but the reality of a new hybrid world is here. We are confronted with the complexity of our reliance on the natural world mixed with our reliance on synthetic materials. Hans Peter ends our collaboration with an insightful premonition. Our grandchildren's soil and seabed will no longer be our grandparents' soil and seabed, but something else, maybe benign, maybe very scary, a planetary threat. I want to end my talk with another kind of premonition, one of hope. I hope that these past minutes have shown you just how complicated our pollution on this earth has become. I hope that you're inspired to look longer at your surroundings. I hope that you can see that pollution is not a surface level problem. I hope that you can see it is our connection to the ocean that can help save it, that people are responsible for caring for and helping one another and our earth. And I hope we can all work individually and collaboratively at a global level to understand and turn the tides on plastic pollution. As said in Norwegian, tusen takk, or 1,000 thanks for your attention and care during this presentation.